They say some people walk into our lives as angels in disguise, but Emma Parker almost pushed hers away. It all started on a slow, rainy morning inside Willow Crest Hospital. Emma, a young nurse, loud, confident, always in a hurry, was having a terrible day. Her shift had been long, patients were demanding, everything felt heavy. So when she saw the old janitor, Mr. Harris, mopping near the hallway, slowly, carefully, she snapped. "Sir, can you move faster?" Emma barked, rolling her eyes. "You're blocking the path. Patients need to get through." He quietly stepped aside, hands trembling just a little, whispering, "I'm sorry, dear. I'll be quicker." But that wasn't enough for Emma. In front of doctors, nurses, and patients, she shouted, "Do you even know what you're doing? This hospital doesn't need slow, useless staff." Everyone went silent. Mr. Harris stood frozen, cheeks red, eyes glassy. He didn't say a word. He just lowered his gaze and kept mopping. Within minutes, Emma marched into the administrator's office and filed a complaint. And just like that, after 20 years of working in that hospital, the gentle old man was fired. When Mr. Harris heard the news, he simply nodded and packed his small brown lunchbox. No anger, no shouting, just a quiet sadness. But people had watched what Emma did, and quietly, the hospital started to whisper. Doctors who once smiled at her stopped greeting. Nurses who laughed with her now walked away. She pretended she didn't care, but she did. Deep down, her conscience kept scratching. Why does it feel like I hurt someone who didn't deserve it? Still, Emma's pride kept her silent. 3 days later, a little boy was rushed into the emergency room, barely breathing, no parents in sight. Emma tried to help, but the boy was panicking, crying, kicking, terrified. Then, out of nowhere, the door opened. Mr. Harris. He wasn't in uniform, just an old jacket, soaked from the rain. But the boy's eyes lit up. "Grandpa!" the child cried, running into his arms. Emma froze. Whispers spilled across the corridors. "Grandpa?" Mr. Harris looked straight at Emma with eyes that held no hate, just quiet strength. The doctors needed permission for an urgent procedure, but the grandfather didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stroked the child's hair and whispered, "Be brave, little one." His voice trembling, but full of love. He signed the papers, and the boy was rushed into surgery. For hours, Mr. Harris sat alone in the waiting room. No jacket, no food, just silent prayers. Emma watched him from across the room. Something inside her cracked. For the first time, she saw him not as a janitor, but as a grandfather terrified of losing the only family he had. She quietly walked toward him and sat down. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He didn't look at her, so she spoke again, softer. "I was wrong." He closed his eyes, tears sliding down his wrinkled cheeks. "It's okay," he said. "Pain makes all of us unkind sometimes." The surgery succeeded. The little boy would live. When the doctor shared the news, Mr. Harris collapsed into Emma's arms, crying, not from weakness, but from relief. That night changed Emma forever. The next morning, Emma walked into work expecting more cold silence. But when she reached her locker, she saw a photograph stuck to the metal door. A photograph of a tiny baby in an incubator. The back of the picture had a message. 25 years ago, I cleaned a NICU room while a premature baby fought for her life. I prayed for her every night. They told me her name was Emma. Emma's hands began to shake. Her breath caught. Her knees almost gave out because she remembered that story. She had been that baby. She had always been told a kind stranger prayed and bought tiny clothes for her when her mother couldn't afford any. That stranger was the man she humiliated and got fired. Tears poured before she even realized she was crying. She ran to the bench outside the hospital where Mr. Harris sat feeding pigeons with his grandson. She dropped to her knees. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "You saved my life, and I destroyed yours." He cupped her hands gently. "No, dear, you just lost your way for a moment. We all do." She shook her head. "No, not this time. You deserve better. You deserve respect. You deserve to be here." She ran back inside like her heart was on fire. Within hours, the hospital board reviewed the case. Doctors spoke, nurses spoke. Even patients came forward with stories of how Mr. Harris brought them coffee, prayed with their families, and cleaned their rooms with gentleness. And that day, the hospital reinstated him with a new title: Patient Support and Hospitality Supervisor. Not a janitor, a leader, a respected member of the hospital family. When they handed him his new badge, the entire staff clapped. But the biggest moment came when little Emma, now all grown up, hugged the man who once prayed for her survival. From that day, Emma changed. She smiled more, she listened more, she treated everyone, from surgeons to sweepers, with dignity. One evening, as she left the hospital, she found Mr. Harris sitting at the garden bench. "Why did you help me?" she asked softly. He smiled. "Because kindness always finds its way back, child. Sometimes through pain." She leaned her head on his shoulder, like family, and in that quiet moment, the world felt gentle again. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Someone out there needs a reminder that kindness still exists. Share it. Spread it. Let someone find hope through it. And if you want more heart-melting human stories like this, follow our page, stay close, and come back every day. On DLYN Stories, love always wins. Kindness always returns, and no one is ever truly forgotten. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story.